All right, another edition of Riding Home. It's just me this time. We don't have a lot of wheels spinning, so stand by as we get through this. The dogs with a Sunday afternoon practice. There's not many of those this year, or generally speaking. I did want to say that I got a good look at the the safeties as well as the tight ends. And one thing that jumped out to me, and this is not exactly going to be breaking news, is that they really are going to be using these tight ends. Sometimes flexed out, sometimes it's just going to be that you're going to see the tight ends on the field the whole time. I mean, I can't imagine a scenario where the tight ends are not going to be on the field for Georgia. Now, look, the reporting I'm doing here, don't go nuts with this, okay? Because this is just some drill, and even in the drills, sometimes they weren't. Like when they were doing positional drills, Brock Bowers, then I think 88, and then Darnell, and then 80, and then Eric Gilbert, and then Oscar Delp, and then they went to, I mean, you can't really take a hard look at some of this stuff and say, oh, for sure this is the pecking order. But the pecking order when they got into a less individualized thing was Brock, Gilbert, Darnell, and Oscar Delp. So sometimes what you see in practice and the order is not really what's the word, how it's going to be when they get to games. I also watched the safeties, and I got turned here, so stand by. The situation with the safeties was kind of interesting because a former, well, I guess still a current walk-on was the number one guy out there for Will Muschamp's group in Dan Jackson, and then it went to Dave. I think that was David Daniel, Christopher Smith, and then William Poole. But I did want to talk about Tyke Smith. Actually, Tyke Smith and Malachi Starks. Look, you can tell why. Tyke Smith was highly considered or thought of when you go out there and you watch him kind of run around. Same thing with Malachi Starks. Those guys both looked the part. Now, whether they can play at Georgia, I don't know the answer to these things. My suspicion is the answer to that is yes. They are not hurting in the secondary. They might, I don't think they are. It doesn't look like it to me. At running back, it went Kendall. Now these are individualized drills. Doesn't mean who's the number one and all this stuff. I mean, these things change, Kendall, and then Kenny, and then Edwards. And I think Branson Robinson was after another player. So we'll just see how this progresses for the Dogs as we get closer and closer to their fight with Oregon that's coming up soon. Kirby was not as vocal today as he's been in the recent past, but always extremely, has a lot to say. I thought it was, you can tell they've been through some practices, and right now it's 93 in Athens, so that's probably not a lot of fun being out there in those pads. But if you're not going to do the work now, you're not going to be successful in the future. I want to remind everybody, you pick up DAWGSTRUCTION today, you get our 2022 preview included. Make sure you're picking that up. I have 3 DAWGSTRUCTIONs right now, so be one of the 3 people that gets them before I have to order a new group. I'm running out of magazines for sure, so the other place you can get it is at Red Zone. But I think a lot of the stuff that we wrote about in the 22 preview was was foreshadowing some of the stuff, or a lot of the stuff that we saw today. It was curious to see the quarterbacks throw as a foursome, because because that's more of an NFL kind of thing, it seems like. But they were definitely out there throwing to their particular receiver. And then when they split up into, Stetson and Carson throwing to 4 players, it was, I'm pretty sure it was just Stetson and Carson, but I could be wrong about that. But anyway, the first line was Brock, Ladd, AD, and Kieris. That's what I was talking about when I said you're not going to get a situation where the tight ends are not on the field. I mean, I wonder who is getting kind of knocked out. Is it the running backs that will get fewer snaps because of how gifted the tight ends are? And this is a good receiving group too. But I looked at a lot. I mean, Todd Hartley is pushing Eric Gilbert for sure. That is definitely happening. And I think that for this team to have success at the level they had a season ago, having Eric Gilbert have success would be a good start to that. But they're loaded up at they are loaded up at tight end, and that Todd Hartley is really pushing Eric Gilbert. To me, that shows that they've got plans, and they do not want Eric to settle. So this is I don't know how many more open periods we'll get in practices. They definitely look the part of a team that could be special or is special. The receivers don't look like, oh man, they don't look like that. But I know the guys that are out there, and they're trouble. I mean, they're hard to deal with, this group. Ask Auburn about. Ask Alabama about Ladd McConkey and A.D. Mitchell, how much fun that is. And I think Kieris Jackson has proven enough since the 20 season to let you know that he's the real deal too. I like this team. Though we don't know about the punting situation necessarily. We don't know about, we know about Jack Benesley, but we don't know. I guess my biggest concern continues to be, is this defensive line prepared to get the job done in a way that is comparable to a season ago? Because if they are, this team's going to be very good. They might be the best team in the country. If they are not, how much worse are they than a season ago, and how much better is the offense? That's the question. But looking at the offense, there's a lot of weapons. There's a lot of different types of weapons. I don't think there's a superstar on that team, on that offensive side of the ball. They basically return everybody except Jermaine Burton, and they're adding Eric Gilbert in place of him. They should be better on offense. You're losing Zamir and James Cook. I don't want to act like that's not a big deal. I think losing James Cook's explosion is a problem that you're going to have to deal with. But how much better are these tight ends going to be than they were a season ago because of the injuries that they sustained? Brock Bowers is the smallest tight end on the field, and he's my size. So it's just a different. They look good. Are they better than Alabama? Are they better than Ohio State? Are they better than Oregon? We don't know the answer to that yet. And we're going to have to learn somewhere along the way that if this is true, a lot of it's going to have to deal with the defensive line. These coaches, to me, seem very qualified to teach individually. These guys, this is a good team. This is a good program. I want to see the results of the of the Oregon game. I think that will be a critical moment in Georgia's season. It will set the stage from that point forward, give a lot of experience to a lot of guys that probably need it. But I don't know. I wouldn't say I was impressed with today, but it just kind of all adds up. All right, another edition of Riding Home. We'll see you on the website.